Good evening to one and all. The School of Ancient Wisdom is happy to welcome all of you to yet another learning session this evening. We thank you for your participation and welcome all of you in the ongoing webinar series. As always, we would like to begin with our school prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. Today we have with us Mr. Yogeshvar. So, with the grace of his gurus, he has a decent level of expertise in the practice and teaching of traditional yoga and facilitating self knowledge in the light of the teachings of Vedanta. So, Mr. Yogeshwar, we thank you very much for your valuable time and truly appreciate it. We now hand over this forum to Mr. Yogeshwarji to engage us for the next 1 hour and request him to share his knowledge and insights with us. Thank you.
Right. Namaste. We will begin with our Mangalacharana. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.
Mood pair malu.
Sahanam punaktu sahaviryam karavavahe tejasvinavadhi tamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. In the last classes, we have been discussing Shraddha and Samadhana, especially in as contributing factors for Nishtha. What are the various things that can help us face the different challenges for our Nishtha in our commitment to our spiritual goal? So, Samadhana, the goal clarity, Shraddha is surrender to the teachings of the Shastra and the words of the Guru and the methodology, basically faith in your spiritual support system. And we had Samadhana. So even when the faith is shaking, if your goal clarity and your commitment to your goal is good, we are good to go. And then the faith can be re-established with proper scrutiny and analysis. So we saw various aspects of that. Now, these come under what is called as the sixfold inner wealth, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, the sixfold inner wealth beginning with Shama. Right. So this is one of the fourfold qualifications for a person who is desirous of liberation. But this Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, the inner wealth, can also be a very useful qualification for any person desirous of even temporary and time-bound goals. Even the goal is not moksha, any dharmic goals, even artha, even kama, even for any kind of attainment, this sixfold inner wealth is very, very useful. So this nishtha, this bridging the gap basically between our understanding and our abidance. So abiding, when we are trying to abide in our understanding, when we are trying to bridge the gap, there are various challenges on various levels. So one of the things, the main challenges, is the three types of difficulties, experiential difficulties that come to us from our own body and our own inner conditions, and the climate and the immediate environment that we have, and then the various natural disasters, etc., what they call as Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, right? So the three types of difficulties. And we have also our programmed reaction to this. So that is the Adhyatmika, or the personal aspect mainly. One is the difficulty that is inner So let's hope this works.
Yes, we are able to listen you.
Oh, there is no internet. I think it already connected. Yes, it connected. Good. So let's hope. Let's see how long this goes. There is a light problem. We will have to change the. Can you pause the recording a little bit? Or I will have to change my direction for the light. 1 second. Hold on.
It's completely okay, sir.
My face is not visible.
Now it's not visible.
Okay, no problem. All right. So titiksha, it's wonderful that when we are discussing titiksha, we have adi bhautika disturbance, that environmental disturbance in the form of power cut. So we can explore that. So this titiksha is a very highly praised inner asset, I would call it. The sixfold inner asset. It becomes very essential for seeking any goal, and especially the goal of liberation, because the experience or the attainment of liberation is completely centered on the quality of one's mind. So titiksha, when it comes to that, there is a lot of emphasis that is being given. So there are two things that they talk about when they talk about yoga and nishta, and the commitment of the mind, commitment of an individual to their spiritual ideal. There are two things that are being talked about not only in our Shruti and Smriti and all our Sanatana Dharma Vaidika scriptures, but also in all the mystic traditions and the monastic traditions, especially in the world, in all religions, they talk about this, especially in the monastic traditions. This is these two things. One is forbearance, which is titiksha. Another is what they call as equanimity, samatvam. So when we say for yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate, and then we have titiksha. In Bhagavad Gita, the moment the teaching commences in the second chapter, of course, you have a exclusive Bhagavad Gita class going on in the School of Wisdom. Just mentioning this point, I will not go deeply into that. Just that there is a mention. The moment the real teaching begins in the second chapter, within 2-3 shlokas, the titiksha comes. He says, the just like how the individual takes birth, first gives the bigger picture. He gives the bigger picture, just like how the individual is born, grows old, and dies, like youth, old age, and death. It goes on. In the same way, the individual soul also leaves the body and takes another birth. So there is really nothing to fear. There is no death. You are eternal. So basically, it sets the premise, and also for the idea that the self is indestructible, and the self as consciousness is not the consciousness, the light, the knowledge, the self, which is not affected by the body and mind. What is its nature? It is never touched by any of the relative experiences. When that basic premise is set, after that it says the different experiences, matra, sparsha, kaunteya, there's different experiences of life that come through our sense faculties and through the body. And as we go through different situations in life, all these experiences, like heat and cold, it's that he uses, sitoshna, sukha dukkada, this just, the pleasant and unpleasant experiences like heat and cold, which means all the experiences. All the experiences can be classified into pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Right? It's either unpleasant or not unpleasant. In fact, if we go one step further, the different states of mind, when Patanjali talks about this, he only talks about two categories. He doesn't talk about happiness. He just says klishta, aklishta, painful, painless. He doesn't say pleasurable or happy mind. No, apparently there is no true peace within the realm of the mind. For the mind, it is either klishta, it's either painful, or you can be happy that it is painless. That's all it is, klishta, aklishta, only two kinds of vrittis. So, when we are talking about titiksha, the very first thing he recommends is as you go through these life experiences, which come and go. First, the good news is that you are eternal. The second good news is that all these different experiences which are pleasant and unpleasant, the desirable and undesirable, painful and painless, these are temporary. Agamo paina. They come and they go, and they have a beginning and an end. That is the good news. Like they say in that very famous statement, even this shall pass away, they say. No? It's a very famous statement. Like the one second, Ms. Maya, you will have to change the screen, I think. It is not in the speaker.
Sorry?
The screen, the main screen.
Okay.
Yeah. It has to be switched to the speaker. It's not in the speaker.
It's in the speaker, sir. For us, it's the speaker. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Right. So the first good news is that the experiences are temporary. All the positive and negative experiences are temporary. So that gives us the strength to say, even this shall pass away, and help us to develop an attitude of, okay, let me maintain my equanimity, let me maintain my stability while this experience passes. So I have a context for me to, is there a way to, yeah. There's a problem with it. 1 second, please. Right. Good. Right. So that is the way to maintain our equanimity in different levels. When we say titiksha and equanimity, it is very easy to say. He says, tam titikshasva bharata, Arjuna, may you bear them. They are just experiences that come and go. May you learn to bear them. He did not say, think of me and I will come and solve all your problems and I will clear all the situations and make everything pleasant for you. So the focus for a person who is intent on gaining liberation. Why? Because the next sloka he says, those who are unfazed by the different positive and the negative experiences of life, those who are unfazed by these inputs that come through the senses, which are pleasant and unpleasant, those who are maintaining their equanimity in the pleasant and unpleasant, in the happy and sorrow situations, they qualify for immortality. So amritatvaya kalpate, they become ready for immortality. So it is, titiksha seems to be an essential quality for a person desirous of moksha. So you qualify for immortality. So if titiksha can qualify us for immortality, we don't have to, the highest of all the goals, what the Shastra says, we have absolutely no doubt that titiksha qualifies us for attaining any goal. Because two things are happening. One, these external situations are inevitable. No matter how much we try, materially, spiritually, no matter what efforts we take, there are always variables which are not under our control. That is one. And another, this is the bad part of the news, but the another one, the good part of the news is that the external situations affect us only to the level that we allow them to affect us, which is where the whole concept of titiksha comes, where we are able to gain a mastery over the different reaction patterns. So once an experience comes, once we have the external experience through our sense faculties or an internal experience because of the body conditions, once we experience that, first comes our habitual reaction, right? So first comes the habitual reaction. Then the moment we get ready to process that reaction, and then we realize what is happening on, we become conscious, then we start the process of conscious processing it. So if we are very awake, if we are very alert, and if we are in a healthy situation, and our mind is having enough energy, what we call as ojas and all that, the conscious processing of the experience begins very fast. So this is where the whole science of yoga comes. In titiksha, when we have to talk about forbearance, it is very easy to say that, please withstand them, please learn to bear them, please learn to bear them with equanimity. It's very easy to say that I have to bear them with equanimity. But in practice, am I able to really actualize that equanimity? So in titiksha, nishta in titiksha. So that is exactly what we are going to discuss today. This titiksha being a very important quality, a very important inner asset. How do I bridge the gap between my intention for titiksha and my actualization of titiksha? So when we are going that, we have to divide titiksha into different levels. Now, there is a certain level of resilience that we can build in the body. For example, if we have a good level of nervous health, and if we are, especially when we are young, it is easy to take a cold shower. This is it's a very common thing, right? So when we are young, and to a certain extent we are resilient, if we have a healthy body, taking a cold shower in the early morning, for example, in a place that is not very warm, or taking a hot shower in Chennai in the afternoon in summer, when we open the tap, we get boiling hot water. So of course we don't have to take bath in that directly. It is not as healthy as the cold shower, but suddenly when it comes in, right? So or in winter in Bangalore, for example, in the early morning, if you want to take, the water is ice cold. So when we go into that, there are two things happening. One is we start shivering even before the cold water touches us. No, we just touch that and it's very cold. At the prospect of how the cold shower is going to feel, just by thinking about the prospect of the cold shower, just by thinking about it, we have a hesitation and we have a mental reaction. And then when we take the cold shower, the level of reaction and instability that comes from the body. So when we are thinking about the cold shower, and then we have that huge hesitation that does not let us to go for the shower. So that is the psychological aspect. And then when we are really under the cold shower, how the body reacts. After the cold shower, how much we are able to maintain our health. There are people who get, somebody is asthmatic, they may get wheezing. If somebody is, they may, I don't know, there may be some kind of a shock, depending upon how weak the person is. If the person is strong enough, it is just an unpleasant experience for some time, and after that, one feels very refreshed. And then for the entire morning, you don't feel cold because the blood circulation improves. Then we have this Iceman, who very famous person, one Wim Hof. He's all talking about taking bath in ice water in lakes with ice and all that. So we have extreme kind of people who have really gone through that and developed a very high level of resilience. So all that comes. But here, in a typical thing like a cold shower, the physical part, the body aspect of it, is dependent on a few factors. It depends on your nervous health. It depends on the generally the toughness of the body, how much your body is used to that. And a very important thing that we notice in our yoga practice, especially when you go through a yoga practice, as a yoga practitioner of Hatha Yoga especially, what we noticed is the physical resilience, the ability for titiksha at the physical level, the body level, is heavily dependent upon what we call as the uh, how as the what we call as the level of vitality, what we call as the Ojas Shakti, or the level of vitality in the system. How much prana you have, how much vitality is there in the system, and how active it is. That seems to determine how much we are able to resist extremities in climate, especially, and extremities in physical experience of pleasure and pain. So when not completely being carried away physically by the pressure, your sense faculties are gone. They are completely taken for a ride. You have absolutely no control over a sensory stimulation of a pleasure. Or if there is a painful situation, a painful sensory experience, we have absolutely no control over how we react to it and how we suffer from it, and how we get affected by it after the experience is over. What is the level of input that painful experience leaves in our body? So one is the difficulty while experiencing. Then comes the level of impact that experience leaves in our body. So these two things come under titiksha of the physical body. So this portion, this aspect is addressed by the practice of asana. We will be surprised we all think that hatha yoga is meant for flexibility, some health, and all that we talk about. But you know what? The practice of asanas, in asana practice, is supposed to give us a state where one is not affected by the pairs of opposites. Patanjali says, asana pratishtaya, by arriving at mastery of asanas, atha, that's what this word means, atha, by mastering the practice of postures, asana. Dvandvan anabhigataha. Dvandvan means this Sitoshna Sukadukadaha. This climate, the different hot and cold, and the different pleasant and unpleasant sensory experiences, and the climatic impact, one is not affected by that at the physical level. But Dvandva also means there are a lot of psychological, even psychological, the psychological impact, the way we react to something, the moment that is a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience, how much or how intense a reaction that experience, that sensory or mind-based experience, how intense a reaction it is able to invoke from us. When an experience comes, either something that we sought or it comes unsought, first thing, without our participation, without our conscious involvement, there is a natural reaction that an experience invokes from our system, from our basic body structure, right? So the intensity of the experience that is invoked, that will be minimal. We will have a much better control over what is the intensity of an experience that it invokes from us. One simple exercise that we used to do in to illustrate the effectiveness of pranayama, for example, the mental reaction, how the asana helps us to not, to have control over the body's reaction. Similarly, pranayama helps us to have control over the mental reaction. So this hatha yoga, the elements of hatha yoga, which is asana and pranayama, they play a very vital role in development of titiksha. It's very different from the how asana develops titiksha is basically we are staying committed to one pose. If you take the Yoga Sutras, Sthira Sukham Asana, where the second sutra that says Prayatna Shaitili Ananta Samapattivyam, you relax the different subconscious efforts that you are making, different tendencies for movement of the body, etc. If you watch our body right now, if we are sitting, if you watch our body, there will be a lot of tendencies for physical movement, and there will be tendencies for reacting to certain sounds that come from us. And especially physically, if you see, there is under the skin, there will be, if you feel your body under the skin, and some people may be feeling like shaking their leg. or shaking their hands or some other mannerism. So these are all signs of different reaction patterns happening inside the different things, invoking our reaction from inside without our control. Right. So in asana, what we do, we relax all the efforts that the body tends to make. We consciously become aware of an effort, we relax that, and then stay committed to that one single effort that maintains the asana. And we maintain that intention and we maintain that effort to keep that steadiness plus the relaxation, the combination of steadiness based on the right effort and relaxation of all the unnecessary effort that are not required for keeping the asana. So when we maintain that and keep the asana, the posture for a certain period of time, what we call as prana, for 10 breaths natural to the posture, then 20 breaths, 30 breaths, like that, we keep on increasing the duration in which we stay in asana. Like this, as a combination of steadiness and relaxation, how long we are able to maintain. So that is the practice of asana we talk about. That is supposed to take us away, that is supposed to help us maintain what is called as the equanimity in the face of opposites. Dvandvan anabhikadaga, unaffected by the pairs of opposites. So this ability develops in the system automatically by the practice of asanas. I am sure probably not in a single yoga class or very rarely in one or two, except that not any yoga class tells you that there is this is the expected result of the practice of asana. So it is always about flexibility, it is always about curing this pain or that pain. But more than that, asana has a direct impact on titiksha. Now, the question might come, what if I cannot practice asanas? Not everybody can practice asanas. Not everybody can do all these difficult postures like, Mayurasana, Ardhamashendrasana, like Sarvangasana. Many people cannot do that. Like some old people cannot do, for example, there is something called as a Pakkasana. It's very difficult. If you don't have enough power on your hands, you cannot maintain the posture. And Mayurasana, a difficult asana. So these kind of asanas cannot be maintained. Some people may not have enough flexibility. No, I cannot sit in Padmasana. What to do? They get very sad. I am not able to do asanas. And what about a person if the person is having some handicap or some difficulty, or the person faced with some accident and they don't have one of the limbs are missing? How they are going to practice asana? So this is where we need to understand the basic principle behind asana. That is why I told that relaxation of unnecessary effort and maintaining of the absolutely necessary effort that is meant for keeping the posture straight. So everybody is in some posture or the other. So all of us, either you are sitting or lying down or standing, or you are sitting with a certain back rest or whatever, right? So here one need not do all the asanas. One need not do all the difficult asanas. Of course, when we do some specific difficult asana that train specific parts of the body, the result is fantastic. Even if one cannot do that, any posture that one can assume one is physically capable of maintaining. Any posture one is physically capable of maintaining, just assume that posture. It could be even in a chair, it doesn't matter. If you are old and you cannot sit down, you are not from a culture that is used to sitting cross-legged, doesn't matter. Any posture, take up that posture and see if you can maintain absolute physical stillness 5 minutes. Gradually increase to 10 minutes. Gradually increase to 15 minutes. And see if we can maintain this. You can be done in the holidays also. When you don't have much to do. When you don't know what to do today. There are these people who are browsing on weekends. Saturday. What do I do? All the friends are gone in some holiday. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I spend my day? When you have this time, when you have this question, you can sit and practice asana. Okay. 1 muhurta, 24 minutes. 2 muhurtas, 3 muhurtas, 1.5 hours. Can I sit absolutely unmoving in a posture for 90 minutes? We can keep that as a target, each one of us. The asana it is called. If we are able to sit absolutely unmoving and relaxed in the same time with absolute stillness of the limbs, without or with minimal rebellion from inside the body, with minimal rebellion from inside the body. I will not say no rebellion. Of course, initially every cell of your body is going to rebel, but eventually the rebellion will reduce. Minimal rebellion from inside the body. If we are able to maintain that one steady posture for 90 minutes, if we can manage that, when we arrive at that, first to be able to sit for 90 minutes, and then to be able to sit for those 90 minutes without the body rebelling, then to be able to sit for those 90 minutes even without the mind rebelling, that would be a fantastic practice that each one of us can try in our, in the free time, in holiday. I'm not asking you to do every day. You can try that, and that develops, that Patanjali promises that this develops titiksha, not only at the body, even at the mind level. You will see that when we do that, the ability of the mind to have a hold on instinctive reactions to things will improve by leaps and bounds within a span of 2 to 3 weeks. When we start doing that, even 20 minutes, absolute stillness. No technique, nothing. Your only technique is to sit still. Maintain that posture still for 20 minutes with no rebellion. If we are able to do that, you will see a huge result we are able to experience within a matter of 1 or 2 weeks. Consistently, you do that every day, 2 times a day. Or just wake up from the bed, I just woke up. The mind is rushing to attend to a lot of things. But I choose to sit cross-legged or in some posture, whichever is easier. Sit absolutely still, 15 minutes. And enjoy the stillness. When I am sitting still, I enjoy the stillness. If your mind is able to enjoy the stillness and the control and the relaxation simultaneously, when all these things coexist, stillness, relaxation, and enjoyment of the stillness. If we are able to sustain these 3 things during the course of the 20 minutes, which gradually increases by practice in holidays and other days, which gradually can increase and arrive at, let's say, 90 minutes, or at least 1 hour. If you are able to do that, you will see how we are able to be resilient in every kind of life situation, not only physical, but also psychological. You can even test, you do this practice for 2 weeks, and suppose if you have a problem with cold shower, try a cold shower. After 2 weeks, try a cold shower and see how much the hesitation has reduced. The fear that I will get affected. You just touch the cold water. The reaction, nothing will jump from inside. You can see that for sure. And then there is this, also we can do that controlled deep breathing. When we do that, when we maintain that controlled deep breathing, like in Ujjayi or a Brahmari Pranayama, when we do that, deep, controlled, steady breathing. When we do that, the different emotional reactions, the speed of that, the force behind our emotional reactions will reduce, especially. And also, the force behind the sensory distractions will reduce. So what happens is we are teaching the natural mind to be resilient. It is not that my body is reacting and my mind is suffering, and then I am biting my teeth and now sitting on top of that. That is not what titiksha is meant. By titiksha means that we train the system to reduce the intensity of reaction to different situations. So that is what is titiksha. Like they say, a very famous line from Kambaramayanam, it comes. It seems when Goddess Sita was in Ashokavanam, she was thinking about Lord Rama. So she was thinking, what was she thinking? So she was thinking about the various qualities of Lord Rama. In one shloka comes where he says, when Lord Rama was asked to take the throne, and the very next day, when Lord Rama was asked to renounce the throne and go to the forest, in both the situations, his face was like a lotus in a painting. A lotus in a painting. This is a beautiful poetic expression. A normal lotus can shrink, but a lotus in a painting is always in full bloom. So how a lotus in a painting is always stayed in the same full bloom, So Lord Rama's face was having the same amount of pleasantness, even when he was told to take the throne, and the very next day he was told to renounce the throne and go to the forest. He had the same face. That's equanimity, right? So now we can't fake it. So we can fake it, then what happens is it becomes another cause of stress, then it's like a air hostess smile. I read that it seems one of the most stressful jobs is receptionist and air hostess because they have to maintain the same nice smiling face across all situations. So then can we say that they're all yogis and they have fantastic titiksha? No. If that maintaining that nice behavior is causing a lot of stress in the background, then there is no titiksha. So titiksha is not maintaining a nice face. Titiksha is truly, authentically not being affected at our core. So that is the inner asset. That's why titiksha is an inner asset. Samadhi Shatka Sampatti is an inner asset. It's an inner asset because it is a certain quality of being that we develop. It is a quality of being that we nurture in our system, which develops over a period of time, and we can test ourselves, we can test our limits. And one of the main things in what we call as this ashramas, there are 4 ashramas person in the traditional lifestyle. Nowadays we don't have, but when it was there, when the traditional lifestyle was there was this brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. The vanaprastha ashrama is specifically meant, especially brahmacharya and vanaprastha. These 2 ashramas are specifically meant for developing titiksha of different kinds. In vanaprastha ashrama, the body and the mind is prepared for becoming ready for sannyasa ashrama, which is the 4th ashrama, the next ashrama for renunciation. Then in vanaprastha, 2 things are required: tapasya and upasana. So the tapasya take care of the titiksha aspect, because when a person becomes a sannyasi, ideally the person is supposed to be a parivrajaka or a wandering mendicant. So as a wandering mendicant, the whole idea is to live on bhiksha, and as a wandering mendicant is to get that absolute unfazed abidance and knowledge when you are faced with different vicissitudes of life and different situations, and nothing is under the control, you are living under the sky. And at that time, in all the opposing experiences, in one house they will give you bhiksha happily. In one house they will give you bhiksha with a lot of cursing. In another house they may just send you away. Then there will be another house, another guy will come and tell you why you are having an able body and begging and eating. Somebody will start giving advice. So all kinds of experiences one can go through. You can get beaten up. Then there is climatic situations. Then there are animals. So all kinds of unpredictable, pleasant and unpleasant experiences could come. Suddenly, the people will start worshiping. One fine morning, the king will get very impressed by your austerity, and he will take you on the elephant on a procession, and then he will reward you with, he will make you sit on the throne and say, "Master, how can I serve you?" That also can happen. On the very next day, somebody, some people on the road who don't, who have a different ideology, probably they will start throwing stones and trash on you. That also can happen, right? So a sannyasi is supposed to stay absolutely unfazed, no matter what one is faced with, like that titiksha. So that is developed through the practice of tapasya, which is done in vanaprastha. That's what they say. And if a person goes, it's a very mature soul, they are going from brahmacharya directly to sannyasa. Of course, they have been tapasvi and they are born with all the inner assets. Now, this is the general spiritual way of looking at the situation. We have right. But what if we are living a normal everyday corporate life? This going for office and different kinds of things, or you are a student. It's a general activity, urban life like what we are living today, with all the different realities that we face. Now, one of the main challenges, this titiksha, developing titiksha, if we develop a value for it, when we develop a value for it, one of the main things that we can do. When we have a value for this inner, developing these inner aspects and titiksha, we can remember this. When we are faced, especially in situations, this is especially relevant for our times now, when we are faced with situations of meaninglessness. So this is one of the main problems that we have today, which is going to get more and more. People are forced by life conditions on so many angles. It's either peer pressure or family pressure or economical pressure or social pressure, any kind of pressure. One is forced to do work that one does not like, one may not have a passion for, and one may not see any meaning in. That is the worst part. And one may disagree with in principle. There are people who do certain work, they don't agree with that. They don't think that work is, that is the right kind of work. And they feel that that is wrong and they have to do. So they have to have a huge level of cognitive, they entertain a huge level of cognitive dissonance. So if it is something that you feel that is unethical, one should not do, obviously one have to stop doing that. That is not the solution. Trying to bear that is not the solution. But I am talking about especially meaningless activity that does not motivate you much, and that which is not aligned with our inner rhythms, our sleep cycles, our food eating, eating cycles, our appetite, and our biorhythms. The type of work may not agree with that all the time. And because we are going according to a certain conventional clock that is out there, which is common for everybody. Each one of us have a different body type. Each one of us have different biorhythms, this brain clock and all that. But the office clock is not according to our brain clock. And the different activities that we do, to a certain extent, they have, if you have a day job, it's wonderful. If you have a night job, then it's a really difficult situation. So when we have to work in situations like this, we can use each one of these situations as a context for developing the inner asset. So then we are giving an entirely new meaning if there is an inescapable situation. So this whole titiksha, this is the key word. In titiksha, when we are developing titiksha in a situation, the key word is it an inescapable situation? Is it a situation that I have to face? I cannot change, or I have to put extraordinary effort to change it, and the change may not be worth the effort. If it is something like that, then the only choice we have is to use that situation, to benefit from the situation. The only option we have left is to use that situation to develop titiksha. So this could be an attitude with which we can face especially pointless work that sometimes we will have to. Because even if the work is difficult, difficulty is not a problem. When we feel meaning in something, when we are going to do something that feels very meaningful for us, for example, when a mother is feeding her child, breastfeeding her child, initially it is extremely painful. But she pushes herself to do that, and after some time it becomes okay. The body adjusts to that, right? And also it's very tiring. 3 months, 4 months, up to 5, 6 months, even the mother cannot sleep. The child keeps waking up every 2 hours. It's impossible. And then we have so many other, for men, we have so many situations. You see the soldiers in the, who are guarding our borders, the kind of situations they go through, we cannot even imagine in our everyday life. But these are extreme situations, right? So even in those situations, people are able to do that because they see meaning and they see sense in what they are doing. So that meaningfulness gives the necessary motivation for titiksha. Now, if I don't have meaningfulness in what I'm doing, then there is no motivation for me to bear. Then developing forbearance, developing titiksha can become a motive for me to face that situation. So, okay, I can't do anything about this situation. Now, so let me use this situation to develop titiksha. I have a bad boss, but I have to be on the job. let me use this situation to develop titiksha. So this titiksha can give a completely new meaning to the different situations and the realities that we face in our everyday life. Those cannot be changed. Suppose if you have a situation that is not okay, but it can be changed with reasonable amount of effort. Of course, we should try to change that, and we see how we can improve the situation. It's not like a complete fatalistic attitude where, okay, whatever you say, I will take it. Whatever happens, I will face it. I will endure it. That's not what we are talking about. Titiksha is something, a quality that we develop inside us. Consciously, we nurture that quality, we develop that ability through conscious practices like asana, pranayama, etc. And also by developing the resilient attitude and the equanimous attitude towards the difficult and the varying, towards the fluctuating situations that we cannot influence, that we cannot change with reasonable amount of effort. That's where it comes. The forbearing in the situations only when we cannot really influence the situation in a with a reasonable effort, in a reasonable kind of time, with reasonable effort. If I cannot change that, then I learn to bear it. And also, like they say, right, the cost benefit analysis. I have to put too much effort and it's not worth the effort. It's better to bear it and go through this situation. And then once it changes, then I do what I have to do. So that is also there. So it is not that, I can change, so I will change. Sometimes it is not worth changing. We have that. So each one is the judge in, each one is the judge in the situation. Each individual situation is different. Each person is different. So the judgment is made person specific and situation specific. So there is no general one rule for everybody. But titiksha as a value is universal. So titiksha as a value, when we cultivate that as a value, and when we strive to use our inescapable situations for titiksha, it can give an entirely new meaning to the different, a spiritual meaning to the different situations and to the flux of different experiences, the positive and negative experience flux that we have in life. To face that, those experiences can acquire a new meaning as sources or contexts where I can develop titiksha. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. And titiksha is a very essential inner asset, one of the inner assets. We will discuss the inner assets. So as we are busy in our life acquiring the external assets, let us also get busy acquiring the inner assets, which is going to help us in abidance in our spiritual knowledge, and which is going to help us bridge the gap between what we want to be and how we are at the physical and mental level, and where we want to be. So that cognitive gap can be bridged, especially when we have a certain amount of say over our body, our sense faculties, and our mind. And one of the most important qualities is titiksha. So now I open the forum for questions. And if you have already thought over what we discussed in the last classes, and if you have some questions, please feel free to ask. We have 10 minutes left for our class.
Any questions from anybody?
So they're going to type in the chat, or how is it? Or they're going to ask with the mic?
We have given the option to unmute yourself, and even you can type in the type in the chat box.
Yes. Generally, the participants, you can, like how you switch off your mic, can also switch off your video and turn it on maybe when you ask a question. Otherwise, it is better to keep the video switched off, generally as a rule in the class. So please remember in the next classes. Right. Yeah. Somebody said yes. Is there anything coming in? So, meanwhile, while somebody forwards the question, as a continuation of this discussion on titiksha, we can split when we are doing our journal on titiksha as we are developing the different practices. We can split the titiksha in different levels at the body level and body's response to climate, body's response to task, like that we can split it. We can also split at the urges and the different urges. When you have a desire, there are two things. You have a desire, I would like to enjoy an object of sense. I would like to enjoy, let us say, if it is some kind of a sweet, I would like to enjoy that. It's a desire. But then, if there is, the desire can also be at the level of craving. There's a huge urge to want it. So that is urge level. And then, especially when it comes to two things. One is taste and sexual desire. The urge component is more, especially more in the sexual desire. The urge component is more. So they don't know how to manage. And similarly, this is at the urge level, at the vital prana level. Then there is the flux of emotions, happy and sad and depressing and elating. The different, that is little more subtle. So there's flux of emotions. So then we have to develop tools for titiksha, emotional titiksha. So that usually comes from level of the developing the quality of contentment, learning to develop contentment with what we have. It's an attitude. Nurturing that attitude of contentment with respect to our possessions and with respect to our uh, reality that we are in, the living reality that we are in, with respect to what we have, what we would like to have, and what we already have. And learning to develop that attitude of contentment, the result is atyanta sukha labha. That is, you will have an unconditional kind of a satisfaction. That is not a kind of a background, what do you say, like a threshold. You'll have a certain threshold of satisfaction, an unruffled kind of a satisfaction, which is there as a background experience to all the situations. So whether you get something or when you don't get something, you may try for something. Sometimes our effort is successful, sometimes it is not successful. So that santosha as an attitude when we cultivate, that gives a certain kind of emotional picture. And also for mind related, moods and mood swings and how things affect us mentally and how things affect us at the attitude level. For that, we have a wonderful practice in Yoga Sutra called Chitta Prasadana. Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshana, the sutra is there. We can discuss that one day. So when we practice these qualities of friendliness, compassion, gladness, and indifference, there are four qualities that are given. We will discuss the Chitta Prasadana. Very last topic, we discussed only we just grade the surveys today. This Chitta Prasadana helps in developing a certain kind of a mental titiksha. You are always in a certain pleasant state of mind, and your basic mental composure is not disturbed by the flux of different kinds of experiences that we go through. So that gives us what we call as equanimity. So equanimity is not something, and this titiksha, this forbearance, is not something that we practice exclusively. Because of certain practices, this titiksha as a quality develops in us. the equanimity is a quality it develops in us. It is not something like practicing equanimity. Then it becomes like a air hostess or a receptionist smile. Then it becomes even more stressful. So that is why this titiksha is not practiced by itself, but titiksha is understood and appreciated as a value. And there are other practices which help us to develop the quality of titiksha in us eventually. So that is the approach for titiksha, and we will go deeper into this in the coming classes, especially in different levels, what different practices, like how we explored the concept of asana today, we will explore other concepts also. So these practices we have to do deliberately. We cannot wait for one mind mornings for some spiritual maturity to dawn on us by some some kind of uh, what you call as some kind of an irrational expectation of some irrational grace dropping from somewhere. One fine morning, suddenly you are all enlightened and spiritual and equanimous. It's not going to happen. It's a very deliberate effort we have to do. We have to be responsible for our own redemption. Like they say, be your own best friend and not be your enemy. So, and lift yourself by your own self. So we have to do that, and we have to do the practices that help us to develop the different inner assets, and we will explore that in the coming days. Has anybody sent any question? If not, we can conclude the class. Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaja Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mridangamaya. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you. Have a great week. Let this week be useful for developing the inner assets.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful insights that we gathered today. So we shall meet tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you.